Shunned. Yes, the person in front of you, well, not necessarily in front of you, but whatever device you're watching this on, is worthy of being completely cut off from his family and his friends. All of my support systems were removed in an instant for something that I thought in my head. Yes, the Watchtower organization has policies and practices that control Jehovah's Witnesses to such a degree that someone like me is worthy of being cast out from everything that I ever knew in my entire life. We're going to talk about it. But hi, my name is Wally and welcome to the JW Thoughts channel. Yes, we're talking about shunning today, and it's not going to be an easy subject. There's going to be, hopefully not too many tears or anything involved, but I do have some very important points that I do want to make. So we are going to talk about my personal story when it comes to shunning. We're going to talk about Watchtower's policies and some of the videos and material that they've produced with regard to shunning and how it's ultra disingenuous to the public's eye. We're going to talk about how shunning looks from an outsider's perspective. And then I have something that is basically a project that I want to work on. Sorry, I forgot to raise the fourth finger, but a project that basically will give people a platform where they can, I don't really care for the expression, but I'll use it because it seems applicable here, but a platform where they can speak their truth. So with all of that being said, don't forget to drop a like on this video, and I always say, hi, welcome to the JW Thoughts channel, and yet people don't reply in the comments and say, hi Wally, back. That's like when you go out to check the mail and you see your neighbor and you're like, hello, and they just like turn their head and look the other way. Don't be that neighbor that turns the other way. Please get your little fingers ready, whatever device you're watching on, and just say hi Wally. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. With all of that being said, let's do this thing. Alright, so to kick things off, I do want to talk about my own personal story when it comes to shunning. So, I left the Watchtower organization in such a way that my family was not required, hey, I just blew a bubble, to shun me. And I did it, for the reason that keeping the door open. If anyone had any questions, there was not a guideline, a principle, a doctrine that would necessitate them shunning me. We'll skip to the end, but they ended up doing it anyway. So when I left the organization, I did it in such a way that's called fading. So people can disassociate, where they basically write a letter and say, I don't want to be known as a Jehovah's Witness anymore. Bang, you get shunned. Or you can be guilty of some sort of sin and there's a long list of sins, all the way from celebrating your birthday to drinking too much alcohol to speaking out against the organization. There's a whole list of things that would land you in the area of being disfellowshipped. And I didn't do any of those things. I left in such a way that people in my family at least could still have association and contact with me. But they didn't. They chose to go beyond Watchtower's ridiculous, and don't get it twisted, the Watchtower's rules are absolutely outrageous when it comes to what is a sin and what qualifies for everything, or for disfellowshipping. So when my family decided that they wanted nothing to do with me despite this, it was extremely hurtful. And a lot of people will say things to the effect of, and when I say a lot of people, whether it be in a YouTube video or a Facebook post or Reddit, Twitter, whatever it might be, people will say things basically, sorry, ZZ is really he's pulling back the blinds because I closed them because he wants to see the bird feeder. So give me a second. Anyway. ZZ is my co-host, so, we need to be accommodating of him. So a lot of times, again, like I said, when people are talking about this, they will say something to the effect of, I'm not a murderer. I'm not a bad person. Why is my family shunning me? It makes no sense. I didn't do anything that wrong. I just disagree. And this hits a special chord with me personally, because there is a murderer in my family. There is someone that is in jail for the rest of their lives. If you guys want to look it up, his name is Paul Bryant. I can put a little card right here, but if you do a Google search, type in Paul Bryant murder Washington, whatever news, you will find his face. And my family will still go and visit him in prison. They will still have association with someone that murdered multiple people, and yet they won't talk to me because I disagree with their interpretation of the Bible. I have come to terms with it, so if I'm not seeming as emotional as someone might be, it's because or as emotional as I often am, it's because it's something that I've come to terms with. There are people in my family that haven't been associated regularly with the Jehovah's Witnesses for decades. For 30 years, haven't been active witnesses that are currently shunning me, and yet they will still have contact and have association with someone that has murdered multiple people, that has been to prison multiple times, that was pregnant with my cousins while they were on meth. It's unspeakable crimes against humanity. And when I mean unspeakable, I'm not talking about it because it's a little bit too much, and I don't want to get into too many details here, but absolute pieces of human garbage, and they are willing to talk to them. Why? Oh, well, they're studying with witnesses while they're in jail now. They're studying with the witnesses while they're in jail now. Seems like a good idea. I guess I'll go and have association with them. But me, what have I done? I guess this is a call out to my family. What have I done other than use logic, reason, and have a YouTube channel featuring cats, and that is critical of nonsense? Anyway, so my personal relationship with shunning goes, now I'm getting emotional, goes very deep for me, because I left in such a specific way that I wanted to keep that door open. But I've reached a point now where I don't care. If tomorrow my brother, my father, my mother, my grandparents, whatever it might be, if they said, wow, now I realize that the Watchtower organization is full of deceit, nonsense, illogic, and lies. And they said, I'm so sorry for blah, 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 blah. I'm at the point now where they are not my family. They are no longer people that I actively care about. And that's why I can talk about it without a single tear in my eyes. I can read a letter from someone else and I become like a sobbing mess because I'm an old softie. But when it comes to it, I don't care. If my brother texted me right now and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore." Whatever, dude. Whatever. I don't think I would want to see him. I don't think I would want to talk to him. I don't think I would want to have active association, because to this day, and I've made this clear many times, the only person that has had a conversation with me about my doubts, about the questions I had, was my grandpa. And how that conversation went was talking about a prophecy in the Bible. He said, "Okay, let me do some more research about this. And I will get, and we'll meet next week at this very specific time and we'll talk about it." I showed up at that very specific time, and guess what? He was outside picking some mint from the garden, saw my car pull up, locked the door, and when I knocked, he didn't answer. That was the last time that I saw him. When I put my arm around him to give him a hug at my grandmother's funeral, he gave me the cold shoulder, didn't say a single thing, shrugged me off, and walked away. And that is the best, mind you, that is the best example of someone that listened to me. According to Watchtower doctrines, according to the Bible itself, there is no precedence for this. So for me personally, and this is not saying that this is what other people have to do. It's your life, it's your time. Do whatever you want. But for me personally, I'm done. I'm finished and I'm over it. And the above and beyond way that my family has treated me has led me to the conclusion that even if they make their way out of the organization, the most contact that they're going to have with me would be in the YouTube comments. That is about the maximum amount of contact that I want to have with these people. I'm hard pressed to even call it my family at this point. My grandma texted me and I called her right back and she answered. It was the first time we had talked in 4 years. And she said that I could come down to Florida and see her. And I was like looking at plane tickets and scheduling it and getting everything ready to go. She told me that, my grandpa has like box seats for the hockey team in Seattle or something. She said, "Oh yeah, if you ever want those, let me know." I've contacted her, I think, like 6 or 7 times now after that. Nothing. After she, promised that we would have a relationship going forward, despite whatever differences we had. Even if I said, "I will keep silent. You're one of, my favorite people on the planet. You're more of my mother than my own mother is." And oh boy, here it comes. Ooh, blah, blah, blah. We're good. And after that, I just was like, this is too much, and this is unhealthy for me personally. So I'm moving on. Woo! I'm moving on. So what I've been doing lately is I've been writing letters to members of my family, and I'm going to make a video where I read those, and I will email, text, maybe even mail it to them. I don't know, and just put that out there to them, basically just as a goodbye, good riddance, good luck, whatever it comes of it. So I wanted to, though, as part of the larger, community, well, larger, but the few thousand people that are watching this video, I wanted to give you guys a chance if you wanted to do something similar, and whether you wanted to do this anonymously or publicly, either way is fine. So if you want to write a letter, write a poem, write a song, and record it and send it to me, and I can put it in there. If you have like pictures and stuff that would go with the song, that could be kind of neat anyway. But if someone wants to basically send a message out to their family, and whether it's personal freedom for you, whether it's closure, whether it's making a statement, whether it's, we'll say it again, speaking your truth, I just want to give people the opportunity, and then I don't know how many we'll get. It might be a 4-hour long video. It might be a 4-minute long video of just me reading my stuff. But if anyone does want to participate in this, send me an email. You can call and, if you call the number down below, just send me a text as well, because then it's easier for me to organize stuff. Because going through voicemails when there's like 50 or 100 of them, it's kind of difficult. So send me a text first, and then you can call, leave a message. We can get in contact and we can make this happen. So I'm going to say probably around May or June. We'll just say at the latest June, we'll put this all together. So submissions will be closed after May, we'll say, and May will say, God, I'm accidentally rhyming stuff again. Anyway, that is a project that I think is empowering, and it could be very, very healing for people just to be able to, make peace with the fact that we are people that have lost essentially everything, and showing and demonstrating our strength, not only in the community, but individually, and that we are willing to take the power back and say, I lived my life for you and this organization. I did all of this for you and this organization. And because I don't agree with your nonsense, you want nothing more to do with me. Okay, well, you know what? Right back at you, Chief. And for some people, this might sound petty and maybe not very positive, but for me personally, it is. So if other people agree with me, great, and you want to participate, awesome. And if you disagree with me, I think we can still disagree as friends. So with all of that being said, let's move on to the next segment. Real briefly, though, as a preview of some of the expressions, world into Wally's, or a view into Wally's brain is, I like to write down different expressions that I find meaningful and important, and then I kind of build around that. So here are just a couple of different things, just as a way of preview. I don't know if it's interesting, but here you go. Your legacy is my heritage, and your unequivocal distortion of love rests broken in my heart. While silence may be your comfort, it is my demon. The haunting sound of silence resonates in every sleepless night, every cheerful morning, and every lost day battling the silence that comforts you. I was a broken child and you fixed me. I was a broken man, and you abandoned me to a world that did not want me and would never understand me. Yeah, that's probably all I'm going to get through for this section of it. So, what we're going to transition to now is looking at Watchtower's shunning policy. Some of the recent videos and things are fairly interesting, so let's jump right into it. Alright, so let's get into some of the things that Watchtower says about shunning. So if you just type, it's easy failed attempt to jump on the table. If you just type in shunning on watchtower.jw.org, what you'll get is an article called "Do Jehovah's Witnesses Shun Those Who Used to Belong to Their Religion?" The first thing that it says is this: Those who were baptized as Jehovah's Witnesses but no longer preach to others, perhaps even drifting away from association with fellow believers, are not shunned. In fact, we reach out to them and try to rekindle their spiritual interest. So, this is some big, stinky BS. This is smellier than a bar restroom at 2 a.m. And I know why they did it. Because, like, it's the same like when I look at the analytics for a video that I release, or if I did a blog post and how long people read for. I actually read an entire book that was basically doing a study on tracking people's eyes and seeing how much of certain news articles they read. And it was, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I'll call it more than 50% of people would read less than the first paragraph. So 50% of people that are going to look at this that have never been Jehovah's Witnesses are going to read the title and the first paragraph, and then they'll basically form their opinion, and bang, they're out. Which is kind of goofy and crazy, by the way. So for those of you still watching the video, congratulations for not fitting into that category. But what are they talking about here when they say they are not shunned? It's ridiculous, because rekindling someone's spiritual interest, the elders contacting me every 3 years, in no way means that, oh, well, he's not shunned. The elders sent him a text message, or they called him once every 3 years to check in and see how he's doing. I'm not disfellowshipped, by the way. So I am absolutely being shunned, even though I'm not disfellowshipped. So let's continue on with the article, and we can see even a little bit more nonsense if you thought it wasn't nonsensical enough. We do not automatically disfellowship someone who commits a serious sin. If, however, a baptized witness makes a practice of breaking the Bible's moral code and does not repent, or he or she will be shunned or disfellowshipped. The Bible clearly states, remove the wicked man from among yourselves. This really caught my attention because it says specifically there that he or she will be shunned or disfellowshipped. Oh wait, I thought that people are only disfellowshipped or shunned when they're disfellowshipped. But here they even, whether it's a mistake from their writing department or if it's something that is directed at Jehovah's Witnesses that are looking at this, they are saying, yeah, people are shunned even though they're not disfellowshipped. Even though in the paragraph before they say, no, they're not shunned. It's so disingenuous to say that their approach to people that drift out of the organization, that fade away, even if they're not critical, even before I started a YouTube channel, even before I spoke out and said anything, I was getting shunned by my family. And that's part of why I started, because it's like, okay, well, why am I protecting this thing that's Narnia? You know, this is just a fantasy. The idea that my family is going to want to have, some sort of relationship with me. So I'm like, okay, I'll just start the YouTube channel. The elders noticed I had a YouTube channel and still didn't disfellowship me. But again, they make that distinction here. He or she will be shunned or disfellowshipped. So apparently I'm sinning, and by speaking out against Watchtower, by being critical of Watchtower, they don't like critics. They don't like when someone says something against them. It makes them feel real sad and real bad, and they will, send lawyers after me if I make a mistake when it comes to my usage of copyrights, or they will use my family as a weapon against me, because being critical of Watchtower is a no-no. They cannot take any sort of criticism whatsoever. And I, being someone that gets critics, you guys probably know what I do when someone says something critical, if it makes sense. If someone's, just being needlessly ridiculous, then I won't. But if someone says something critical or challenges a position I have, I always post their comment on the video. I put it at the very top, so when people are reading the comments, they see the criticism first, because I think it's important that we don't, silence critics. That's what shunning is. I think it's very important that we embrace that we say, okay, there are differences of opinion in our community, in, whatever it is. Let's be adults about it. Let's have a conversation about it. And you know what? It's possible to disagree with someone without shunning them.
My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that? Hammocks!
Without banning, I don't have to ban someone from my YouTube or Facebook or something. I don't have to say, oh, well, you were critical of me, so therefore I don't want to hear any of your criticisms moving forward. And the funny thing is even if someone is critical and I pin their comment, oftentimes later on down the road, they might call me, they might text me, they might email me, and we'll actually work out all of our differences. Whoa, a mind blower that two thinking adults can disagree about something and still remain friends. But with Watchtower, absolutely not. Let's see what the rest of this 4-paragraph thing has to say. What of a man who is disfellowshipped, but whose wife and children are still Jehovah's Witnesses? The religious ties he had with his family change, but blood ties remain. The marriage relationship and normal family affections and dealings continue. Disfellowshipped individuals may attend our religious services. If they wish, they may also receive spiritual counsel from congregation elders. The goal is to help each individual once more to qualify to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Disfellowship people who reject improper conduct and demonstrate a sincere desire to live by the Bible standards are always welcome to become Jehovah's Witnesses again. So the message here is pretty clear. You will functionally be shunned until you're willing to be a Jehovah's Witness. Once again, sorry, ZZ is on one right now, and just, why are you murdering? Here, we'll put him up here. He'll be my co-host. No more ZZ as my co-host. You get the Flash. The Flash is now my co-host. Until ZZ, no doubt, comes and attacks him again, but that's the point of putting him there. But the part before that, where it says, the religious ties he had with his family change, but blood ties remain. This is simply not true. As I said in the beginning, as far as it goes in my family, 4 generations deep of Jehovah's Witnesses, if I murdered someone, I would be more likely to still have contact with my family than I do currently for criticizing Watchtower. I could be a murderer, and that would be better in their minds than betraying an oath I made as a child and didn't even fully understand what disfellowshipping is. And how ridiculous and how disingenuous this article is. But if you thought that this nonsense was over, oh boy. We've only just begun. Alright, so I think we all probably remember the infamous shunning video, and I thought maybe it's time that we re-look at that with some fresh eyeballs, of maybe some fresh perspectives, and some fresh commentary. ZZ has once again murdered the Flash, but that's okay because he is the world's fastest man and he can take it. Well, I guess he's the world's fastest man, but ZZ is in fact God himself. So yeah, let's revisit this video, and I'll be adding my commentary in between.
Looking back, my parents tried hard to do the right thing, to do things Jehovah's way. But because I didn't have a hatred for what's bad, I couldn't see anything wrong with my choices. This eventually led me to do things I later regretted. I ended up getting disfellowshipped.
Sonia Erickson has been disfellowshipped.
It crushed my whole family.
Okay, to continue the meeting, we may remember last month's service.
All right, so already a lot to talk about, but the big one is they are telling this story. And remember, all of this is just a bunch of fabricated foolishness, but they are telling this story from the perspective, as it were, of someone that left the organization, but came back. This is not from the perspective of someone that left the organization and stayed out. So the point I'm trying to make is most people that get disfellowshipped or leave Watchtower don't come back. If they leave for the right reasons, then certainly they don't come back, with the rare few exceptions of people that know it's wrong but go back just because they want to, have their family back, which, if that's you, more power to you. But in their fictional universe that they're portraying this as, it's so disingenuous and kind of loses the point in my mind, or invalidates any point that they want to try and make, because the real perspective is of the majority of people like us that have left and never came back. So then we have the announcement being made at the meeting. Now, as someone that has had announcements made, I have something to say about this. So I was publicly reproved once. But before I was publicly reproved, on the subsequent meeting, so this happened 3 weeks in a row, it was first announced that I was no longer a ministerial servant. Then it was announced that I was no longer a regular pioneer. And then it was announced that I was publicly reproved. So I basically went a month or three weeks of getting these reactions. So if anyone thinks that these reactions are overblown, or they're just being overdramatic when their mom or dad or other people look over at them and kind of snarl and, make a dirty, nasty face, that's what happened to me for 3 weeks straight. I remember just when it was no longer a ministerial servant, the person sitting behind me gasped like a full-on Looney Tunes style. It was so gut-wrenching, and the most important thing at the time in my life was the approval of people. It's really the one thing that I had at the time. I needed to be, this stalwart Jehovah's Witness, reaching for the absolute pinnacle, because for the first time in my life, I had been gaining the approval of my family, and I was accepted by them, and I genuinely felt their love, and it was all attached to my association and my rising through the ranks of Watchtower. And I mean, if any of my family's watching this, go ahead and challenge me, because as soon as I left Watchtower, you stopped talking to me. So I think that's pretty fair. Anyway, but it was so important to me. And when hearing those gasps and those people that looked at me and the people that wouldn't shake your hand after the meeting, and this is not me just being disfellowshipped. This is just being, reproved. Not shaking your hand, not wanting to talk to you. Your friends saying, hey, I don't think I can play basketball today. Why not? Well, I think maybe we should just take some distance for a few weeks or months. Even if you're publicly reproved, not disfellowshipped, the early initial shunning begins. And this is me still even after I was announced as, not being a regular pioneer, I was still putting in the pioneer hours, trying to prove a point, because I thought the whole thing was BS, because it was for getting drunk one time. And it's like, wait, I know for a fact that there's elders sitting on this panel. Anyway, we don't have to go into that whole story, but, well, maybe we will one day. Anyway, so just if you are watching that and you think, oh, well, they're really overhyping how her parents are reacting, not really. That's pretty much how it goes, and I had to experience it for 3 weeks straight, and it was awful.
Later, my father explained to me that I couldn't remain in the home because I refused to change my lifestyle. He told me I was having a negative effect on my younger brother and sister. And I'm out of this house. I was determined to do what I wanted. When I left home that day, all I could think about was Eric. I didn't even care that my parents' hearts were breaking.
So we dive once again into the stinky bowling alley shoes that is Watchtower's propaganda. When they're saying, I didn't even care about how my parents were thinking. Watchtower's policy doesn't give a shit about what anyone's thinking. They don't care about how it affects your relationship with your family. They don't care about the pain, the hurt, the suffering. And yet they're trying to make this seem as if it's this girl's fault. It's her fault. No, because if this happened in a normal family, you would find a way to work it out. If you disapproved of Eric, this demon that we know nothing about, if you disapproved of him so much, I'm sure that there is a better course of action than kicking out your, I don't know, they don't really give her age here, but let's say she's 18 to 20 or something like that. There's a better course of action than kicking her out of your house, leaving through the front door, bitter and angry with one suitcase in hand. I can't think of a worse parenting strategy than that. You know what? You don't want to follow these rules that we have set? I'm going to kick you out of the house. And on top of that, I'm kicking you out for something that I probably can't fully explain myself. If she was sitting there asking them, well, can you say and explain to me why Watchtower insists on using 607 as the basis for the 1914 teaching? And they went, abadi. That's all, folks. Would they still kick her out for something that they couldn't explain if you showed them facts and evidence? What about someone in my case that just has people that refuse to even engage with you? They just like, nope, not going to talk about it. What about this? Don't want to talk about it. That you show up to your grandpa's door after he promises that he's going to do research and discuss the issue more, locks the door. So it's not about the rules. It's not about, oh, your negative attitude is affecting your brothers and sisters. No. Watchtower, shut up. How you have indoctrinated and infected Jehovah's Witnesses with your propaganda has gotten to the point where an honest question about the historicity and the interpretation of the Bible can lead to someone breaking a promise, hey, something in the Bible, and just ignoring someone that is desperately asking for questions. A Jehovah's Witness is desperately asking an elder to answer a serious question, a fundamental question they have about the Bible and the historicity of how Watchtower teaches it. And they lock the door and don't answer. They don't use their congregation responsibility. They don't use... Man, my mouth is getting like foamy. I'm actually foaming at the mouth. Talk about Looney Tunes style. But they don't use They don't stick to what their responsibility is as Jehovah's Witnesses, as followers of the Bible, and it's so disturbing. Almost as disturbing as this thing sitting here.
I didn't think about the devastation and disappointment that I had caused them. I blamed my parents for my situation. I even blamed Jehovah. My family missed me so much, even after all I had done. What helped them to remain loyal to Jehovah for the many years I was disfellowshipped? It was the Bible account of Aaron.
What helped them for the many years I was disfellowshipped? What helped them? What helped you? This is why it's so unrealistic to be giving this example, this ludicrous example from this perspective. I'm not sitting here thinking, man, I wonder what's helping my parents get through the decisions that I'm making. I'm sitting here screaming, begging for them to answer fundamental questions. I'm still waiting for the elders to actually answer my questions, which is also the reason I'm not disfellowshipped, is because they're too weak and embarrassed, and they know they're wrong. They know that when you do the research, just like my grandpa that walked inside the house, he did the research and knew he was wrong and was like, oh, well, I don't want to deal with this. And he runs away. What do the elders do? They know that I have an apostate YouTube channel. And what do when I ask them questions? We actually can answer that. So I guess we have to wait on Jehovah. So we'll only disfellowship him once we get that answer from Jehovah. So I guess I just have to stand in limbo. And I've just realized that, has that been there this whole video? I got a new hard drive for a new project I'm working on, but I've just realized it's up against the wall. Whoops. Or not the wall, but hey, it was on sale at Costco. Another 5 terabytes of storage space for the JW Thoughts channel. Yeehaw. Anyway, what the hell was I talking about? Doesn't matter.
Jehovah directly judged 2 of Aaron's sons and put them to death. In this case, Jehovah asked Aaron and his family not to mourn in order to show the entire nation that they supported Jehovah's judgment. Mom and Dad saw that they needed to be loyal, just like Aaron. They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family. And they thought about reaching out to me. But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me. It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah.
Can we say that this is the worst video Watchtower has ever produced? This 45 seconds is disgusting from so many different perspectives. You have the idea that Watchtower is saying, no, they are not shunned publicly, but then you have this where this poor girl could be homeless right now. She could be on the edge of a building or a bridge. She could be in any number of dangerous scenarios to her physical health. And they don't deem that necessary family business. I suppose if someone's life is in danger, that's not necessary family business. And if I picked up the phone right now and called any one of my family members, I can tell you what would happen. straight to voicemail. If I texted them right now, nothing, because I've done it. When I left, I did it I was on a schedule where I would go to their house, I'd knock on the door, they wouldn't answer, knock on the door, they would never answer. A call, never. It's just, you can see the frustration. I get lost in the sauce. I lose my words. But any number of situations could be happening in this girl's life. So Watchtower is ensuring that when Jehovah's Witnesses are watching this, because they've showed it at, I think, a couple of different of their meetings at this point. So it was showed at the convention, and then in subsequent life and ministry meetings, they had like talks about it where it's like, okay, play this video and then ask these questions. It's so disturbing that people can be this manipulated. And as someone that has experienced the horror that is having your family ripped away from you directly from the rules and regulations of an organization, it's scary, man, to know that that an organization, that people in New York City or wherever they would be in the world have that much control of the lives of people that I once cared about. That is so unbelievably scary. And it should motivate us all. It really should motivate us, everyone, to speak up, speak out, shout at the top of your lungs, because it's terrifying. If you've never seen this video, let that be a real brain blaster to you to say, this is how dangerous this organization can be. It's not just apostates that are butthurt and mad and they are trying to get attention. No. This is so serious because I know what it can do to someone's mental health. The whole community that I am a part of is all about trying to protect those people that are making their way out of this organization. I talk to people every single week that are just coming out of the organization. That's why I have a phone and a phone number. Again, I probably mentioned it a couple times, but if that's you, feel free to call and leave a message or send a text. But it's so disturbing, and hearing, day after day, week after week, about how many people are being affected. It's terrifying, and it should motivate you to try and do what you can, how you can, when you can. Everyone's ability is different, and obviously other people's mental health isn't your responsibility. But if you do want to make that something that you care about and something that you're passionate about and something that you can offer some sort of comfort and help, then you get a giant hug from Wally. And if that means anything to you, then it doesn't probably, actually. So whatever. Well, there's like 7 of you still watching. So the 7 of you out there, you're a real one. I don't know how this derailed so quickly, but the show must go on. Okay, so just to sort of speed run and get through quickly Watchtower's history when it comes to disfellowshipping and shunning and all of that good stuff. The first thing that we have to recognize is that in the past, Watchtower denounced the Catholic Church for their policy of excommunication. Oh, why would anyone ever do that? Excommunication. What a disgusting sin. And then they adopted the practice themselves and went turbo mode with it and went above and beyond what's actually in the Bible itself. So that's pretty hard to get around. And if anyone wants to look and read a really comprehensive, very well done article, just go to right here, jwfacts.com, and type in disfellowshipping or whatever. Maybe I'll put the full link up. We'll see. Anyway, It's really good. It goes through. I mean, it's current. It's being updated. So anything the Watchtower has said about shunning and disfellowshipping recently, and some of the stuff they said in the past as well. So yeah, very good article. JW Facts. Shout out to them. One of, if not the best resource out there for people that are initially waking up and just wanting exactly that. JW Facts. This channel's called JW Thoughts because it's just me ranting like a goon. But they do a really, really good job over there. One quick thing that I would like to point out is how they have this discrepancy that was most notable in the Australian Royal Commission when it comes to, well, will you disfellowship someone if elders catch them, you know, celebrating Christmas or sinning in some way? Will you automatically disfellowship them? Which, anecdotally, there are lots of people watching this video right now that'll be like, yep, that was me, 100%. And when Watchtower comes out and says, no, we really don't do that, it's kind of embarrassing. Because at the very least, if you change your policy and say, well, we don't do that anymore, but yes, we did do that in the past, that's honesty. I feel like I'm Watchtower now. I'm talking to children. I don't need to describe these things. Anyway, so they had a way basically where people could sort of move their way out of the organization, fade, blah, blah, blah. And they essentially did away with that. So, to wrap everything up, I want to just talk about this from a perspective of someone that's never been a Jehovah's Witness. And to my surprise, there are several people out there that watch these videos that have never been Jehovah's Witnesses and just kind of enjoy the content or find it fascinating. So, I was talking to someone that's never been a Jehovah's Witness about shunning and whatnot. And I think I even actually took a couple notes, yeah. And I was just like kind of telling them about it and seeing what their reaction was. And the first reaction is, wait, people actually do that? So the initial response to someone that's never lived in it is, wait, this is so cruel. This is so ridiculous. I don't even believe that this actually happens. And it's kind of a goofy thing that happens when we become desensitized to it. You know, every day if we open up our Facebook, we probably have some sort of post in there that's showing, you know, someone talking about their experience with being shunned by their family. And it's not normal. It's so far from the normal spectrum of human behavior. And so, not far out of, but on the fringes of that behavior, it makes people just say, no, that couldn't actually be true. And then the next question was, so are they like the secret police then? Are they following you when you leave the Watchtower? Are they hunting you down, just waiting for you to slip up? And as we've seen with demonstrable evidence from the old ex-elders tell-all, was that ex-elders? Anyway, it was something like that. It was one of Lloyd's videos. But he mentioned someone that lived in my area, and it was the dad of someone that was in my wedding. So Eric Larson, I think I can say his name without too many legal ramifications, but they absolutely track you down. They absolutely will do these things. And I think perhaps they might have changed something recently where they're not so quick to try and disfellowship someone because they're effectively shunning them anyway. So there's really not a need for them anymore to say, well, let's find something that they've done wrong. Wally has this YouTube channel. Well, we don't need to disfellowship him, but we can just make it clear that we should be shunning anyone that's in his position, that's speaking out and being critical of Watchtower. So it's kind of funny seeing this transition, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah, it's from the outsider's perspective, you kind of think like, is this some sort of like Watchtower Secret Service hanging out in their silver Prius outside someone's door, seeing if they turn on their Christmas tree? It's so silly. Oh, he had a birthday hat on, stalking them on social media. I remember my old coordinator of the body of elders. He was bragging at one of the meetings that he set up a fake Facebook account so that way he could stalk people. This guy was a real piece of work, but he was like laughing and bragging at the fact that he had done this. He thought it was so smart of him. So anyway, further along in the conversation, mentioning how they'll use the loss of someone's child or someone's loved one as a piece of propaganda, as we witnessed recently in the March broadcasting episode of the person that had their daughter killed by a mass shooting, and they'll use that for propaganda, to their benefit. Well, what about their response was, "Oh, here the sun comes," and their response was, "Well, they're basically telling people to kill them in their minds. They want to say, this person is not worthy of a hello." You can look at the JW Facts article, but there's multiple examples of them not even wanting you to say hi. If I see one of my family members in a grocery store, they will walk the other direction without saying anything. So they literally kill them in their mind. And they talk about how horrible it is that there was this loss of life in one instance, and yet in another instance, they will just effectively kill them off as if they don't exist. Like, where's the balance? And I was kind of like, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. That's a really, really good way to think about it. And I think that's why it's always good maybe to get some of that outsider perspective. So if anyone is still watching, well, all 6 of you that are still watching, and have never been a Jehovah's Witness, what are your thoughts as far as shunning goes? I'm very curious. It's something that I think needs to be talked about more, and I couldn't believe when I was looking through the collection of something like, what is it now, like 150, 200 videos or something like that I've done, that I haven't really talked about shunning. So I do want to do a little bit more on it and have it be sort of this series, maybe a multi-part thing where we can talk about different aspects of it. And then the last thing that my friend that I was talking to said was, well, this is essentially taking someone that you shelter from the world. You shelter them from the world. In some instances, they don't go to school. They don't have any association with someone that's not a Jehovah's Witness. They don't have any friends. They don't have any family. Their entire life is Watchtower. And then they say, I don't think this is true anymore. It's essentially like just throwing a baby onto an island and saying, nah, figure it out. Because you've suppressed and held them back so much. The Amazon driver is coming by, so I'm going to wave if you're wondering who I'm waving at. Anyway, but you suppress them so much that they don't have the tools to succeed in the real world. And you callously and heartlessly chuck them out. The baby can't walk. Baby can't even feed themselves. Like, what in the actual fuck is going on here? It's so bizarre. And every time I try and look at it from that perspective, I remove my desensitized thought process when it comes to shunning. And I'm like, God, this is so horrible. And it's not only the Jehovah's Witnesses that do this. It's it's a larger problem when it comes to these fringe cult groups that, you know, they raise a child in this group. The child says, hey, this is a bunch of nonsense, and leaves. Now we have a big problem. So anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that outsider's perspective. And again, if anyone wants to share their stories, please comment down below, send me an email, whatever it might be. So what can we say about Watchtower's shunning policy then? I think you can point and look at all of the stories that we've heard of EXJWs that don't go back, and we cannot find a single positive example. There's not a situation where, you know, you're being shunned by someone you care about. Maybe you didn't care about them. You know, maybe they were horrible people to you, and so when they started shunning you, it was a little bit of a relief because you didn't have to deal with that toxic person anymore. But we're talking about, you know, situations where they are people that you do care about. There's no positive that comes out of this. Everything, when it comes to shunning, for ideological reasons, for someone like me, I am the face of shunning right here. And as I said before, they're willing to talk to a murderer, someone that takes human life. Someone that takes another human being's life is more worthy of their association than me. It's inhumane. It's treating people as less than human. And it frankly needs to stop, and we need to grow up and go beyond it. But lots more to say about it. We'll get into it in further videos. Please, if you want to use this platform, again, whether it be with music, whether it be with poetry, whether it be with just a simple letter, whether it be with a voicemail, you know, whatever way that you want to go about that, anonymous or otherwise. If you would like to participate in this sort of project I have where we can all stand up and tell our family members what it's like to be shunned by them. I'm very excited about it. So hopefully we get some people that want to participate. And if not, then you'll just have to hear me talking to my family for 45 minutes. So that'll be fun or interesting either way. Anyway, with all of that being said, if you're still here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of cool stuff coming out in the future. No wicked stunts today because I have some stuff I have to get done. And you probably can tell from the lighting that I'm doing this one in the morning. So anyway, we'll see you next time. Do I do finger guns at the end? I don't know. I don't really think I ever have a plan here for the ending.